It's one of my go-to funny movies I watch every 5 years or so. Always funny, always enjoyable. It is Best in Show, directed by Christopher Guest, who also stars in the movie. Why do I think this movie is great? Let me give you a few reasons coming up next. Best in Show is the 2000 mockumentary by actor-director Christopher Guest. It's his second movie. The first one, Waiting for Guffman, I've already covered on this channel. But Best in Show, is it different or not from Waiting for Guffman? Somewhat. He does have the same cast of actors and lets them loose. A lot of this movie was improvised. There are a few bits that were planned out, but mostly these characters are being developed as they're making the movie, and that's one of the freeing and enriching parts of this movie. Is it feels exuberant, as all the Guest mockumentaries do, and that's rare in movies, and I think that's partly because of how they made it, which is a lot of improvisation during filming.
We have an amazing relationship, and it's very physical. I mean, he still pushes all my buttons, and people say, oh, but he's so much older than you, and you know what? I'm the one having to push him away.
Now, to me, Guest's mockumentaries are very gentle. They love their subject, so they're not mocking as the mockumentary title would have it. They're not making fun. Well, they are making fun, but they're not really, poking fun. And I think here you've got the Westminster Dog Show, which is famous, somewhat famous. It's been on television for forever. And it's always looked weird and quirky and interesting for those on the outside. I'm sure those who are inside absolutely love the dog show. And that's the perspective you get in this movie, with all these people very into dog shows, dog grooming, and dogs, period. And the movie is really made, I think, for outsiders. Although I'm sure insiders can chuckle at it. We, and I'm talking about me, get a kick out of watching people obsessed with something that I would find kind of weird and quirky. Now, I fully admit I don't absolutely love all of this movie. I think some parts of it fall pretty flat, but the highs are really, really high in this movie, so I'd like to focus a lot on those. The movie follows several individual or pairs of characters, 5 different sets of them, as they each bring different dogs to the Westminster Dog Show, some of whom are very well involved in the dog industry and some of whom are just complete novices and they can barely afford to pay for the hotel in Philadelphia.
What do you want? What do you want more than anything in the world? You want the big blue ribbon? Uh-huh, that's what you want. You want red? No, you don't want red. You want yellow? No, you don't want yellow. You want to go home with the blue. What do you see in front of me? What do you see in front of me? You see a big blue ribbon. It's right here in front of you. You want it? You come and you grab it. You get it.
Among my absolute favorite performances in this, and I think that's what you have to do, is watch the movie, and some of the performance will stick and some won't. John Michael Higgins and Michael McKean do an absolute wonderful homosexual couple in this movie. They're rip-roaring hilarious to me, although there may be too many homosexual jokes in this movie, yet they are very endearing as a couple who are sort of interested in the dog show, but they also have fun with it and poke fun at it as well.
You might want to see this. It's Miss Cummings.
Uh-oh.
Is it ever Miss Cummings? Oh my God.
Bob Mackey, where are you when we need you?
She looks like a cocktail waitress on an oil rig or something. It doesn't. Look at the piping. Look at the piping.
She tries to be so self-possessed, but look at the terror in her face.
In fact, they embody the spirit of the movie, but even the best performance, and I think most people will say this coming out of it, is Fred Willard and Jim Pittock as announcers. Over the top of the dog show, they are announcing, and they're given a lot of time in this movie, even though they aren't characters themselves. They're not followed and interviewed. They, as announcers, really take over, and it is absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious to listen to the two of them, watch the two of them work.
Now, the judge is Eddie Franklin.
That's Edie Franklin.
Edie?
Yes, a retired school teacher from New Jersey.
Oh, you're right. That's a lady.
It's very important that all the attributes are examined. Teeth, eyes, ears,
Ouch.
gums.
Am I seeing right? Where's she putting her hands now?
She's just checking out the dog's testicular area to make sure that everything is intact.
Hate to go out on a date with Judge Edie Franklin, have her judge me. That'd be no fun.
The way this comedic duo works is one's a straight man, obviously, the Piddick character, and the other is not, the Willard character. The Willard character is American, Piddick is British. Willard knows nothing about dog shows, seemingly knows a lot about other sports, but not dog shows. Well, that would be like a lot of viewers of this movie, but Piddick is an insider, an expert. He knows a lot about dog shows. So they have this running gag. Willard makes ridiculous jokes, says absurd things, and as things go on, the stiff upper lip British man gets more and more annoyed and perturbed at this announcer.
Hard-pressed in this category to pick my favorite. I think the Shih Tzu is a terrific dog.
What's that one?
The Shih Tzu.
The Shih Tzu. That's one you don't play around with that name, do you? It doesn't come trippingly off the tongue. Stewardess, can I take a Shih Tzu on my carry-on, or does it have to be stowed?
Yes, that's
Sir, is that a Shih Tzu?
an old joke, but a good one nevertheless. Yes.
You had Ed Begley Jr. in a bit part playing a hotel manager who's very serious, but it ends up being funny. I don't know how he does this character, because you play it serious, but it comes off hilarious. How does that happen? And then you have the great Eugene Levy and the great Catherine O'Hara playing a Florida couple. They're very actually poor. They're deeply in credit card debt, and he has 2 left feet. That couldn't have been improvised. I feel like that's one of the main running gags in the movie that was pre-written. But they have a toy dog. To watch them work together is pretty funny. Guest recasts them, I think, in A Mighty Wind as a couple as well. Now, another thing about this movie is it kind of mocks sports movies. And maybe you don't notice this, but it has the basic structure of a sports movie. Different characters coming together to have a competition, and the resolution of the movie will be the champion of the competition, who will win the Titanic battle. Well, it's not, a real battle. It's just who's going to judge the dogs the best and which dog is going to win. It's pretty funny to think of these people as competitors, but that's what they are if you think of this as a sports movie. And yet it's having a grand old time with the sports movie idea of, loving the characters, thinking they're heroes and champions, and then they have an outcome. I won't say all the outcomes are, but it does involve a lot of different revelations and a lot of goofiness, which I actually, every time I watch this movie, forget who wins the dog show. I don't know why I do, but it's always a pleasant surprise to see who does and why, and then to see how the others fare in the dog show, which is pretty darn funny in my opinion.
I feel like I just need to really listen to my inner instinct. And my inner instinct says, don't go right now. So I'm not going out. I'm going to be right here until I get another message from myself.
Another one of my takeaways from watching this movie is why we couldn't have had one of these every 2 years. Was it funding? Christopher Guest really hit a home run, I think, with while Waiting for Guffman, and then this movie follows it. He could have continued to make them, you would think, every 2 years for the next 20 years. Now, maybe that would have been too boring or too stale or too repetitive, but if you think about it, he might have if he had a run of 20, he would have come up with 2 or 3 absolute masterpieces or classics, and then a number of very watchable movies. I want to think of the Ealing comedies in the 1950s, how they made 10 or 15 of those, that particular studio. And not that I like this, but Judd Apatow, all the movies that he's made, I wonder if it was willpower or it was too hard to come up with a concept. But anyway, we're left with 3 movies from them, plus the fictional For Your Consideration, which I think is pretty good too. So all of these movies by Christopher Guest are worth pursuing. Also, a word about Guest. He creates very unique characters. You think of the characters made wild differences between the Spinal Tap character, the Waiting for Guffman character, Harlan Pepper in this movie, and then A Mighty Wind. Those are like 4 completely different people that he created, all while directing these movies. I think he's absolutely great at comedy, and I'm just saying I wish he had made more movies with the whole cast or with parts of this cast. And this is a replicable medium, and of course it was, because what happened after Best in Show, The Office, both the British version, but particularly the American version, for those who have seen it, takes up this particular genre, the mockumentary, and has a field day and wild success. This kind of thing could continue on. As long as people are watching documentaries, there could be mockumentaries. And so I don't see why there aren't more of these, as I've complained about many times on this channel. What do you think of Best in Show? What do you think of what I said, or the actors, or the way they did things in this movie? Is it hilarious or not? Let us know in the comments. let's see if this comedy holds up. I'm very interested to see if the younger crowd think this movie is funny, or maybe it's too old or too boomer. Let us know in the comments, and please subscribe to this channel for more great content. Thank you. Have a great day.